Hi there guys, this is a members only video. A lot of people say to us, how do we tell what is a semi-aniline leather? Well, let's have a look. Here we have 3 semi-aniline items. There is a big difference between a pigmented and a semi-aniline because a lot of people get very stuck with identifying them and are unable to tell the differences. So I'm going to run through with you very quickly what are the differences so that you can understand them and hopefully help you to identify them. Obviously, with a semi-aniline, it is a dyed through product just like this is here, which is an aniline. This here is an aniline. So with an aniline, you should be able to drop a water on it like so and it soaks in. With a semi-aniline, it will not do that. The other identifying mark of an aniline is if you do this, you can see that it scratches quite easily. If you look at that again, you can see there how it marks. Look, very easy. If I put that in the middle, look at that. You can see how that marks very easily. Now, with a semi-aniline, as you can clearly see, it doesn't do anything. You can see where I'm scratching it, but that's where I'm actually scratching the hide. Now, water on it, it just doesn't soak in. You can see it's almost waterproof, bobbling on the surface. And the scratch is basically non-existent. Now, we have 3 different types of skins here. Well, there's 2 types. So we've got lamb nappa, and then this particular one is a pig skin, which can be identified by all of those hair follicles that you see in the surface there. Now, the big differences between an aniline and a pigmented. This is a pigmented leather skin, as you can see here. The grain structure is very even. Now, we do have a genuine leather grain here, which is what these have got here. These are full grain, so this is top grain skin. So we do have a genuine leather item here, and as you can see, the grain pattern is not even. It has got natural scars running through here. You can obviously see this big crease line running through here, but the actual pattern on it, as you can see, is uneven. The actual bobbling, you can see there's another sort of mark there, natural mark in there. You've got more lines running through here, here. And you can see that the grain pattern, and again, when you rub your finger on, you can see that it goes into a star shape and the grain follows your finger. But it's more this bobbling. You can see that this is uneven. So you know that that is a pigmented leather and that it's a full grain. But what makes this very different is when you look at these 2 side by side, you can clearly see that the pigmented one and the red one, this is almost sort of see-through. The colour isn't so intense as what it is on this pigmented item that you've got here. Also, the fully pigmented one, which is this one here, will feel slightly colder than what this one here does, because this obviously has a primer. It is dyed through, unless it's a synthetic like this orange one is, so it is not orange on the back, it is like a off sort of white colour, like a creamy colour. So this has a primer, so it's dyed through with an aniline dye. It has a primer on the surface. Then it has a coating of paint, which is around about 20 UM. If it's on a sofa, it'd be around about 40 UM, which is microns. Then it has a clear coat, which is around 5 UM, 5 microns on an automotive item, and around 10 microns on a piece of furniture. So it's very thin, a standard sort of sheet of paper. 80 grams is around about 100 microns. So you know you're dealing with things which are extremely thin and, ultra delicate. So protection is prevention. The more you sell protection packages to your customers, the better that it will be. Excuse me. Now, how do you tell these apart? Not the actual skins, but how do you tell them apart compared to a pigmented item, which is what we got here? Well, first of all, they're dyed through. Secondly, you're going to have all the grain structure, and they're going to be very thin. Skins are going to be very thin in comparison to a pigmented normal hide on a car. And you can sort of see the grain pattern here is very erratic. So you can see it's very erratic grain pattern. So here it's much bigger than what it is here, and you can see that very clearly. It's very erratic, and if we can get in close enough, I might be able to point out the odd area just there. Look at the end of my finger. You can sort of see the odd area where there are hair follicles which are just slightly visible. You should be able to see with a semi-aniline hair follicles just slightly visible. This is a black skin, going to be a little bit harder to sort of focus in, but again, we might be able to tell, potentially. Let's have a look. Not really, it's a bit hard for it to focus in, but again, if you look at it, you can tell that again, the grain pattern is erratic, and you can sort of see how many sort of hair follicles there are in there, just about with that particular one. Now, obviously with a semi-aniline, it is very, very different to a pigmented. The temperature feels warmer. The colour is very translucent on the surface. They're also ultra thin, as you can see. This is very, very thin in comparison to what you can see here is a pigmented item. As you can sort of see, the thickness is, you know, microscopic in comparison. If we use this red one, you can see the red skin is quite thin in comparison to this orange skin, which is really thick. As you can see, they're very, very different in their thickness. So that's obviously one of the ways that you can tell, because it's very rare that you would get a cowhide that is ultra thin, unless you've got unless you've got an aniline, which is going to be used in the fashion industry, then it becomes a little bit confusing. The main trait of these is it's a translucent colour, it is ultra thin. So how do you re-replicate that? Well, that is quite an easy thing to re-replicate. What you can do is you can use our two-tone dyes and add a small amount of pigmentation paint into the two-tone dye, and add a small amount of matting agent into that mixture to create the effect on the surface. So it mats down the actual two-tone, because the two-tone pigment has got a sealer in, so it gives you a little bit of a glossy finish, because that is how two-tones are. They have a bit of a glossy finish, as you can sort of see, you know, from here. This is a two-tone, and you can see it has a bit of a glossy finish. So we need to obviously tone down that glossy effect on the surface to ensure that we use the matting agent in to tone that down. So you can use the matting agents to do that. The other way to do that is to just put a very thin coating of pigment on the surface which is carried in the clear coat. So you'd use mainly clear with a 10% pigment in the clear to re-replicate that. I've personally started using the two-tone dyes with a small amount of pigment paint going into those, along with matting agent in there, and it seems to give me a beautiful finish. That is also the sort of thing that I'm now using on a lot of leather jackets and things as a members only tip. We do not even release this to other people. So please do not share any of these tips and videos that you are getting and advice that we are giving you here. They are for our members exclusively here on YouTube, and nobody else is entitled to these. That is what you're paying for. If there is anything you want help with, please reach out, please ask. We are here to help. If you want us to create a video, that's what we're here to do. I am Richard, and I am from the R&C Leather Couch Leather Repair Company. And I just want to thank you for supporting us and being a member of the YouTube channel, and for subscribing to me and ongoing support. That is what we're here for. So just bear that in mind. Once again, quick tip, you will see hair follicles in the surfaces of these items of a semi-aniline. It will obviously have a clear on it, so it'll have a slight sort of sheeny matter, sheen to it. This one is slightly duller in comparison. This one's got a sheen on it, but in most cases, you will see hair follicles. It will have a paint on the surface. It will not absorb. It will just sit there on the surface with water when you put it on it. Unlike an aniline, it will just soak in. Hope you found that helpful. Thank you very much, guys. We're here to help. Help at leatherrepaircompany.com.